Hello and welcome into the 24/7 Sports Football Recruiting Podcast. I'm National Recruiting Analyst Petagna alongside 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting Andrew Ivins. We are live in Los Angeles, California at the Elite 11 Finals, and Drew, 20 of the best high school quarterback prospects in the country here in California, Tuesday through Thursday. Workout each day. We'll get to the accuracy challenge, the pro day, the 7-on-7, a lot going on. What are you most excited about to see this week?
Well, you stumbled on the word. I'm ready to see the future stars of college football. Got J.J. McCarthy right behind us, Michael Penix's photo over there. These are the guys that you're going to see on your TV screens, right, on Saturdays and then potentially, hopefully, on Sunday. So I want to see, who rises to the top. We've seen it every year. This is the 26th edition of the Elite 11 Finals. You got 20 finalists out here, 13 of our top 17 quarterbacks in that top 247. So a ton of familiar names, a ton of committed names. I want to see who's that dude. All right, Bryce Underwood, the number one ranked player in the country. He's not here. We got Taven St. Clair, the Ohio State commit. He's in attendance. Julian Lewis, the USC commit. Husan Longstreet, another five-star quarterback committed to Texas A&M. I want to see who's that dude, and I think it's going to start Tuesday night with that opening workout.
Big week ahead, the top arms in the country right here in Southern California. Without further ado, we're going to bring in Tom Loy, who's standing by with Ty Hawkins, TCU commit.
What's up, everybody? We are here with top 247 quarterback Ty Hawkins, a TCU commit. How are you feeling about being out here, and what are you looking forward to improving this week at the Elite 11?
I'm super excited being out here in Los Angeles to compete against the top quarterbacks in America and in my class. And I'm just looking to prove that I can compete with anybody, and I'm a top quarterback in the nation.
I mentioned you're committed to TCU. Tell me a little bit more about why you committed to the Horned Frogs and how things have been going with the staff.
Yes, sir. I've been committed for about a year, and I'm super comfortable with the coaching staff, and we have a great relationship. And the real reason I committed was because of Coach Briles and his offensive scheme.
All that said, you did take an official visit to SMU. How did that go?
Yes, sir. My official visit to SMU went well, and Coach King and Coach Lashley showed me a great time in Dallas, and I enjoyed it.
I know there's some other suitors, if you want to share with everybody. Who else has been coming after you, making you a priority and trying to flip you from the Horned Frogs?
Yes, sir. Will Stein from Oregon and Coach Ryan O'Hara from Florida have been reaching out to me lately.
And what's your plan? Any chances that you're going to get to Eugene, Gainesville for a visit? What's your plan with those guys?
I'd love to go up and see both of those schools because I haven't been to either of them, but I would have to schedule it and see if I can make it up there.
And then lastly, anybody else that has an offer that could jump in, make a move if they're watching, who could make an impact if they offer?
I don't know. I would say something crazy, but any coaches that want to reach out, I'd be glad to talk to them.
Awesome. Again, top 247 quarterback, TCU commit, Ty Hawkins. Ivins, Cooper, back to you.
Appreciate it, Tom. Ty Hawkins, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, committed to TCU, fresh off a visit to SMU. You talked to him a little bit earlier today. Your expectations this week, and for a quarterback that could potentially still have his name out on the market a little bit?
Well, Ty Hawkins is a guy we've seen a bunch on the 7-on-7 circuit. I don't think he's really built for the camp circuit. And why I say that, you put on the tape, you see a dual threat talent. This is a kid that's ran for almost 2,000 career yards on Friday nights. He gets it done with his legs. Excellent track and field athlete. I was actually asking about that. Hey, did you ever have some opportunities to maybe jump potentially at the next level? He said, I actually was recruited to play college baseball. I had no idea he was that talented of a baseball prospect. Gave it up to play football. So for me, Ty Hawkins, just want to see what he looks like throwing on air. Guy who threw a lot of interceptions as a junior, ended his junior season 6 INTs in one half. To me, I want to see the ball placement and just a consistent few days. On that 7-on-7 circuit, we've seen some highs, we've seen some lows. I think the biggest thing, again, is just accurate to all three levels.
Guys, stick around. We'll have player interviews throughout the entire episode today with Tom Loy and Drew. We got a couple of updates as well as top 247 quarterback, 5-star, committed to Tennessee. George McIntyre ruled out with a finger injury to his throwing hand. Just your impressions of George McIntyre, what you've seen so far throughout his career. But this was a big week for him. You and I kind of talked about that little bit of a bummer he's not going to be out here.
Absolutely. It's a bit crushing. I mean, I think there was a guy that had the most to gain and the most to lose was George McIntyre. You look at the list of the 20 finalists, he's the only one that had a losing record, 2-10 this past season. He, too, turned the ball over a lot. Now, wasn't surrounded by the most talent there at Brentwood Academy, but we wanted to see him after a few so-so showings on the camp circuit look the part, look like a 5-star quarterback. He's sitting number 30 for us right now in the rankings. There was a lot of conversation. Hey, should he be in that first round for us, that quote-unquote top 32? Should we move him out? We were hoping to maybe decide that this week. Now we're going to have to wait to the senior seasons, and we'll see. He's not here. That's going to open the door for maybe some of these other quarterbacks out there. A Deuce Knight who's committed to Notre Dame, a Matt Zollers who's committed to Missouri, Keelan Russell who's committed to Alabama. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are knocking on that door for George McIntyre. Unfortunate he's not going to be here, and from what I've heard, it's a pretty nasty injury, like stitches on the finger. It's split open. Doesn't sound like he could even try to gut it out and throw the football.
George McIntyre out. That leaves another opportunity. They got to fill that spot. Robert McDaniel in, committed to Arizona. A guy right here locally here in California. Short trip for him. What do you expect from him this week?
Yeah, threw on the tape after dinner last night when that news broke. Hey, he's a 3-year starter. He started as many, I think the 4th most games out of everyone here. Originally committed to Cal, flips to Arizona. Talk with Greg Biggins, our scouting team member out on the West Coast. He's a big fan of Robert McDaniel. He thought he was the best at one of the regionals. I think it was at Las Vegas Regional. Hey, sometimes when you're coming in, there's not a ton of pressure. You could have a great week. You talk with the staff there at Arizona. They believe in this kid. Obviously, they went out and they got him. So we'll see. Probably starts at the back of the rankings for us. He's only a high 3-star prospect. But again, this is a kid that's played a ton of football and have faced a ton of difficult situations.
You talked about it at the beginning of the show. Bryce Underwood's not here. He's the number 1 player in America. He's committed to LSU. We have seen this before, whether it's Arch Manning, whether it's Nico Iamaleava, whether it's DJU. There has been some precedent. Bryce Underwood's not here. How do you kind of wrap your head around that? Does that impact him in your mind, or do you feel pretty good about where we have him in the rankings process?
Well, you wish he was here, right? And Bryce Underwood, if he showed up, he'd be the 2nd youngest quarterback. He could technically be a class of 2026 recruit. Julian Lewis, who reclassified from 2026, would be the youngest. But this is a guy that's a 3-year starter, right? His resume, over 110 touchdown passes, 42-1 as a starter up there in Detroit. We don't have many questions about Bryce Underwood. The last game of his senior season, I thought that final drive kind of left a lot to be desired. Some turnover-worthy passes, didn't really like the body language. Well, he answered this spring, right? We saw him at a 7-on-7 tournament in Orlando. Hudson Standish, our guy, saw him at the New Jersey Regional. Not a ton of questions about him. Unfortunate he's not here. You mentioned those other guys. I'll point out this too, Cooper. Walker White, the Auburn quarterback signing for us last year, he wasn't a kid that's in the Elite 11 finals. This is just one exposure for us. It's one chapter in the whole story of the book about how we try to get these quarterback rankings right. We're going to see Bryce Underwood play this fall. It's unfortunate we can't size him up next to a Taven St. Clair, but not really concerned about where he's ranked.
So in the absence of a Bryce Underwood, who has the biggest opportunity? You look at some other guys, Taven St. Clair, you're a big fan of him. You got guys on the outside looking in like Matt Zollers. You got a guy like who saw on Longstreet certainly trying to quiet the critics, wants to solidify his status as a top 32 player in the country. Is there one guy that kind of jumps out and says, you know what, Bryce Underwood's not here, but there's a lot of ground to gain with this opportunity over the next 3 days?
Well, I think it's Taven St. Clair. I mean, number 2 player for us. We have been high on him throughout the process. This is a kid that has made huge strides year over year. You go from that freshman season to the sophomore season to the junior season. I would encourage anyone that's a scout at home, put on the sophomore tape and then put on that junior tape, especially in the playoffs, and you see so much developmental, so much growth, and I think he's still got more left in him. There was, when we did our most recent Top 247 update, expanded to that 32-player 5-star field, there was some conversations about making Taven the number 1 player. We're going to see him out here. I think the biggest thing for him is he needs to look like that dude, and if we were handicapping this event, right, 1 through 20, who's the favorite to win the Elite 11 finals? I think it needs to start with Taven St. Clair.
A little bit more on that later. The Oyster Boys got a snake draft. Pretty excited about that. Got that done late last night. But Drew, let's take a look at the schedule over the next 3 days and kind of talk through it, as the Elite 11 will take place at Miracosta High School right here in Manhattan Beach. Tuesday night, more position-specific individual drills. Then at the end of the night, you got the rail shot challenge. We all love that. We saw Caleb Williams do a little bit of that last year, the number 1 pick in the draft. Wednesday, you got the Panini accuracy challenge. And then I want to make sure we get this right, the Vices Pro Day. And then on Thursday, 7-on-7, and then you got the MVP announcement. Is there one day, just in your experience and your purview over the last couple of years covering this event, one event that you enjoy the most or maybe take away the most from?
I think it's the Pro Day. I haven't talked to Brian Stumpf. We had him on the show, right? I would encourage everyone to check out the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. He talks about how they select these quarterbacks, what they're trying to accomplish. He also brings up, he thinks it's a very athletic group this year, kind of compared to previous editions of the Elite 11 Final. So that's great insight there. To me, I think it's the Pro Day. 28 throws, 25 throws, 22 throws. Everyone does the same thing, and what's nice and fun about it is you get to see the college counselors do it first. So I think it was Michael Penix last year. You mentioned Caleb Williams. These guys make the throws. And then the college kids or the high school commits, there's a ton of pressure in that situation. They score every throw. That's, to me, where we can kind of see some separation, right? Night 1, everyone's feeling everything out. But really, that night 2, the Pro Day, and then day 3 ends with the 7-on-7. And what I think is unique about this group, we got some quarterbacks that haven't played a ton of 7-on-7 football. You look at Tramel Jones, who's committed to Florida State. Guy's played 7-on-7 every weekend for the past 4 years in the offseason. He knows how to play 7-on-7. Taven St. Clair, on the other hand, Ryan Montgomery committed to Georgia. They're from Ohio. Ohio just allowed their student athletes to start playing 7-on-7. So there's a little bit of a disadvantage. You don't have your wide receivers. You're not used to that setting. So to me, you always got to be a little weary about 7-on-7 when they wrap up there on Sunday. What about you? I mean, are you looking forward to the rail shot challenge? That's fun. You get to see the 2-ball, the accuracy challenge. Anything you're looking forward to?
The first day, the initial impressions, it was guys like Luke Kromenhawk last year that we kind of stepped away from, and it was a little bit of an eye raiser for us. And then you go into day 2, and things kind of settle down a little bit. It's kind of like the second length of the horse race, right? You kind of get to see who's who, turn 2, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think the board kind of evens out a little bit. But I like day 1, just being able to kind of see these guys off the hoof. Even here at check-in, Camario Taylor, it's kind of been one of those guys, your eyes light up. Same with Malik Washington as well. So the first day is certainly going to be important, along with day 2, day 3. Drew mentioned the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. What about 247sports.com? All the coverage that you need, you can find on 247sports.com. Wall-to-wall team coverage, recruiting rankings, transfer portal updates. Drew, we'll be doing a write-up every day. Final rankings, how we see them, the top 11 quarterbacks from this event. And the great part about this show, the recruiting pod, and what we're doing with the Oyster Boys, it's not just all Elite 11. There's a lot of stuff happening. Guys, if you're in the chat as well, I know a lot of you are a fan of your teams. Commitment wire is kind of going off right now, so transaction wire will bring that into the fold. And let's start at the top. In 2026, Brady Hart, one of the top quarterbacks in that class. Drew, it's just like a week or 2 ago we were talking about, looks like he's kind of leaning towards Clemson. Well, Sharon Moore, not so fast, my friend. Michigan comes in. They get a commitment from him today. You're very familiar out of Cocoa High School in Florida. Tell us what you like about Brady Hart and the fit with the Wolverines.
Oh, he's a modern pocket passer, and I think he's a Michigan man, right? I've spent a lot of time around Brady Hart, whether it be at camps. I saw him play here as a sophomore, led Cocoa to a Florida 2S. I want to make sure I got that right. State title. I can't even keep track of the classifications in my home state. High volume passer, right? What they do there at Cocoa, they throw it around the yard. He's a drive ball thrower. I've talked about this in the past, Cooper, this golden age of quarterbacks in the Sunshine State. They're all in this 2026 cycle. Brady Hart's the one I'm fallen more in love with. And I think Michigan, talking with someone in Ann Arbor last night, this is the guy they wanted. And the quarterback dominoes have fallen. To me, Brady Hart fits Michigan, what they want to do, right? Power, spread attack. They're going to try to run the football, but Brady Hart lets you throw it around the yard. And, hey, Michigan's got another quarterback committed in the 2025 cycle, Carter Smith, who is an excellent dual-threat quarterback. They found something in Florida. J.J. McCarthy, played his senior year in Florida as well.
Talk to me about that quarterback room a little bit. You got Alex Orgy there now. You got Jaden Davis kind of waiting in the wings. You talked about the quarterback they brought in 2025, Carter Smith, and now you got Brady Hart. Your overall feel with the clay and the tools that Sharon Moore has to work with in that room?
I think it's more high floor than it is high ceiling. Now, Brady Hart, Carter Smith are different type of players. I think if you could kind of mesh those two together, it would be the ideal option. Hey, Jaden Davis is the name I keep coming back to. And we were talking about this last night at dinner. Would you a chance he plays right away. I mean, he's a guy that they got in for those college football playoff bowl practices. Someone where I was told, all right, he's on campus, he's seeing J.J. McCarthy practice. I think that was the best thing for him. Us not getting him in the All-American Bowl, like if you're a Michigan fan, you should be fired up about that because it started that learning process.
Michigan now up to number 35 in the 24/7 Sports composite team rankings. We've been talking about them a lot. Ohio State, it's a natural transition, right? We talked a little bit about Taven St. Clair. They're not done on the recruiting trail. They're just kind of getting going. It seems every week we're coming back. We're talking about Ohio State. They get one of your favorite receivers, Quincy Porter out of Bergen Catholic in New Jersey. They also add Isaiah West as well to go with Bo Jackson. Just your thought on those two pickups for the Buckeyes.
Well, I want to get your take on Quincy Porter because you had an interesting player comp when we sat down to set up for this show. Look, Ohio State, it's early right now. They have the number one class. You got to play around with the 24/7 Sports class calculator, but they are one of the few teams that has a legitimate chance to finish number one in the rankings. That has not happened in the 24/7 Sports era since we started grading players back in 2012. The funny thing or ironic thing is I think Ohio State needs to get one of these premier wide receivers in the boat if they're going to finish number one. Now, Quincy Porter right now sitting in day 3 grade for us. I'm a big fan, and that's because I saw Quincy Porter play as a junior down in Florida. It was him versus Jeremiah Smith. He finished the game 6 catches, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns against a talented Chaminade Madonna prep defense. Questions about the long speed. For a guy that's 6'3", he goes 11-1-3 in the 100-meter dash this spring. I like him a lot. I think I texted all you guys during that game. I see a little Jeremiah Smith and Quincy Porter, so they got him on board. I still want to know how Brian Hartline and this staff, can they get it to Corian Moore? Can they get a Jamie French? Jamie French, I saw him in the hotel last night joking about him. Got some Texas vibes, but I think Ohio State's still in there. Can they get one of those guys? Because in the past, Ohio State has had their pick of the litter. You name the wide receiver, they've got them to Columbus.
All right, so am I crazy to think Quincy Porter, Keon Coleman? Did you like that comp?
I do. I mean, he's a 50-50 ball winner on the outside. Projectable frame. I mean, what else do you see in him?
I like him, big frame. You said it, 6'3", 190 pounds. I think the guy's going to be 205, 210 at the next level. Ex-receiver, wins outside the numbers, contested catches. I like Ohio State. I like what they do with that receiver room, Brian Hartline, because they complement each other. All those guys do different things. I think Quincy Porter certainly fits a role. And without further ado, we're going to go back to our friend Tom Loy, who's standing by with Camario Taylor, Mississippi State quarterback commit.
Thanks, fellas. I am here with top 247 quarterback Camario Taylor, a Mississippi State commit. Before we get into that, obviously we're out here at the Elite 11. What are you looking forward to proving amongst the best of the best?
I'm here to show that I belong with the best. I'll show that I belong with the nation's top.
Anything you're looking to learn or take away from the event?
Yes, sir. I'm looking to learn. I'm trying to be a student of the game, be a great competitor, make friends, and just most of all, just compete. Here to learn.
You've been committed to Mississippi State for a while. Kind of take me back. Why the Bulldogs? Why you want to play for Jeff Lebby?
I want to play with Coach Jeff Levy because of the offense that he runs and what he do with quarterbacks. But I was committed to Mississippi State for a long time because of just the loyalty they showed to me, the love, and then I'm a Mississippi guy, so it's homegrown.
You got a chance. You got all the recruits watching you. Who are you targeting? Who are you trying to get to join you at Mississippi State?
Mostly I recruit the in-state guys, so Mario Nash, Caleb Cunningham, Tyler Lockhart, all those guys right there. Kyle and Deere still trying to get him to flip over, guys like them.
Awesome. For Camario Taylor, top 247 quarterback committed to Mississippi State. Tom Loy said back to Ivins and Cooper.
All right, Drew, we talked a little bit about Camario Taylor. When we saw him walking in the hallway, you looked at me and just said, whoa, this is your first time seeing Camario Taylor. What are you most excited about seeing him this week?
The passer, right? Now this is we got him at the National Combine back in January, but you're drinking through a fire hose, right? There's 1,000 kids out there. He's one that instantly pops, and he is going to be on the freaks list. You can go ahead and pencil him in right now. 6'3", 220 pounds, 10.5-inch hands. This is how you want them to look. I think from a body type perspective, he is the closest thing to Anthony Richardson, who's now at the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm qualified to say that. I saw Anthony Richardson at the Elite 11 finals. I saw him play in high school. That's this type of dude. To me, not the most consistent passer, but you go to that Elite 11 regional workout where you named him an alpha dog in Atlanta. really encouraging stretches there.
I remember calling you and saying, hey, just so you know, where we got this guy right now, where we think he should be maybe after seeing him live, Camario Taylor, from that point forward, has been a guy that we've kind of been locked into, certainly been a guy with an up arrow. What do you think about just the overall fit there with Jeff Lebby? It's kind of interesting.
Well, Gus Malzahn and I think UCF, I couldn't hear Tom. I believe they got him on campus for an official visit. I think it's an interesting pairing, and Camario Taylor was committed to the previous staff. With Jeff Lebby, you think what he wants to do, wide open attack at the ball, to the receivers in space. Not a perfect marriage, not a perfect fit. Now, I think Jeff Lebby, can he tailor his offense and utilize his quarterback strengths? Certainly. It's not, Mike Leach, who wants a certain type of quarterback there that is going to throw it around the yard. So it is interesting. To me, UCF in the Big 12 with Gus Malzahn, they have a guy named KJ Jefferson that's going to be the quarterback there this year. Those guys are in the same similar kind of neighborhood in terms of big, athletic, dual-threat talent. So we'll see. He's one that I kind of have highlighted behind the scenes, and I'm like, all right, as we get closer to the early signing period, is he going to end up at Mississippi State, or is someone else going to come in and try to get them in their class?
You got to think it's a high priority for first-year head coach Jeff Lebby, certainly somebody who's offensive-minded, to keep a guy like Camario Taylor in the boat. UCF, man. Camario Taylor, Malik Washington, they got a type there at the quarterback position. Let's go back to the transaction wire. Eric Winters from Enterprise right there in Alabama, one of the best safeties in the country, top 64 prospect. He commits to Auburn. It's kind of been trending that way for a while. Auburn right now up to, number 6 in the 24/7 Sports Composite Team rankings, coming off a top 10 finish last year. Drew, I was kind of going through Auburn, top to bottom. This is another year, quality-wise, where you just feel like this team is getting closer and closer and closer. Eric Winters kind of spells that, just the general direction where this program is heading from a recruiting standpoint.
I think we're going to look up 2 years from now. We're going to look at the defensive two-deep, and we're going to say this is a college football playoff contender depth chart, assuming there's not a lot of transition, right? There's not setbacks. Guys hit and pan out like we think they do. Go back to last cycle, what they were able to do. Keldrick Falk the year before that. I really like what they're adding on the defensive side of the ball on all three levels. I like what they're doing at corner. I like what they're doing in the middle of the defense. And then with the defensive line, Malik Autry. Right now, if you look at Auburn in the class of 2025 rankings in the Yellowhammer State, the top 10 prospects in the state are all defenders. They have 5 of them, I believe, committed. Right, and there's a chance they're going to add another one in Anquan Fagans. I think the story is really Auburn's defense, what they're able to do, because they're setting it up where they're not going to have to go into the transfer portal to fill a bunch of holes. Guys with developmental upside, guys with traits, guys that can play in the SEC. And I think Eric Winters, who you're a fan of, fits the bill.
Hugh Freeze getting it done not only on offense, but on defense as well, like Andrew said. And with that, we'll throw it over to Tom Loy.
Tom Loy here with top 247 quarterback Malik Washington. We are out here at the Elite 11. Tell me what you're trying to take away from this week, man.
Really just get out here and compete. Some of the best quarterbacks in the country out here right now. Just learning everything I can from all the coaches and just having fun.
Let's dive into your recruitment a little bit. You have a Final Four. Why don't you share with everybody the 4 schools you're still considering?
UCF, Virginia Tech, Maryland, and Syracuse.
Give me a quick hitter on each of them. What stands out about each program?
UCF, program on the rise, great location in downtown Orlando. Syracuse, once again, a lot of buzz around them right now. Coach Fran, like how he's going to flip that program around. Maryland, just the hometown team. They've always been there, as a part of my recruitment. And then VTech was really the first school to come around. Great school, on the up and coming too.
Getting close to a commitment date. I know you want to make a decision before your senior season starts. When do you want to announce that decision?
June 28th. That's my decision.
Any leader at this point?
Not really. No, sir. Just, still considering my options.
What do you have left visit-wise?
Just Maryland. After this, I headed my Maryland official.
And then when you do commit, what's that program getting in Malik Washington?
Just a guy who's going to give it everything he has. I'm going to be out there, sun up to sundown. Whatever's asking me, I'll do. I just want to go out there and compete and get a chance to play.
Top 247 quarterback Malik Washington here at the Elite 11 Finals. Cooper, Ivins, back to you guys.
Thanks, Tom. And, Drew, we talked about it with Brian Stump, big athletic crew that he's got here. We talked about Camario Taylor, guy that's certainly easy on the eyes if you like quarterback prospects. Another guy that you said more than likely going to be on your freaks list, Malik Washington. Why?
He won a dunk contest at like a legitimate AAU basketball tournament. Windmill dunk, I don't know. I was going to ask Tom to bring it up. I think he calls it like a yin-yang or something between the legs. This guy can run, and he can jump through the gym, obviously, but he wants to pick you apart from the pocket. He's kind of got that sidearm action, right? Tons of velocity, puts it over the middle. One of the older quarterbacks in attendance, but he's got the size, over 6'4", like you said. I just like the total package with him. And, you think about the schools he's considering, right? Maryland, UCF. The one to me, I think we could look up a few years from now, where's Penn State? Right, he's a guy that visited Penn State a bunch of times. Penn State went in a different direction at quarterback. We'll see if that was maybe the right move because Malik Washington, I think there's a ton to like.
Let's talk about the Terps a little bit. He's got one OV left, and that's to the home state school in Maryland. Josh Gaddis, the OC over there. Maryland, especially when it comes to Coach Locks. They like to keep those guys home. What do you think about a potential fit there with the Terps?
Maryland, what did they do with Tua's younger brother, right? They threw it around the yard, and I think Malik Washington allows them to do that. Mike Locksley is always good for keeping one of these local guys home, and I think he makes it such a priority there in the DMV. To me, I know the crystal ball. Hey, we're going to stay in our lane here. Tom Loy's got it on the Terps right now. I think it makes a ton of sense for them, and it would be a sizable addition for Maryland, which I think has struggled a little bit to make the splashy additions in the transfer portal. I think maybe only one top 247 commit there in the class of 2024. Malik Washington would give them one right off the bat in 2025.
Let's stick in the DMV. We go back and forth and back to the transaction wire we go. Kainoa Winston, top 247 safety from Gonzaga High School right there in Washington, D.C., commits to the Michigan Wolverines. And we've talked about it for a while. We've been waiting for Michigan to kind of pop and get it going. It seems like they're starting to put it together on the recruiting trail. You and I have gone back and forth on this kid a little bit. You like him a lot, and I think he's a dynamic player too. So I want to get my 2 cents in, but tell me why you like Kainoa Winston, the player, and then I can just guess. I know you're going to like the fit in Michigan as well.
I think he's a new age safety, right? Coop, turn on the NFL this fall, okay, on the Sundays. The guys that are making plays on the back end, what can they do? Well, they can all run, they can tackle, and then the other thing is they can cover. And I think Kainoa Winston can do just that. I thought Penn State, I'm not trying to knock Penn State right here. I thought they were a layup for Winston. His cousin's there, likely going to be a day 1, day 2 selection, but he ends up at Michigan. And Michigan has found a ton of success with these defensive backs that maybe lack the ideal measurables in the sense of, okay, he's under 5'11", but to me, Winston hits like a hammer, not afraid of time in the alley near the line of scrimmage, and most importantly, he can cover on the back end. So it's a huge addition for them. But we're wondering, when is this bump going to come for the Wolverines after they win a national title, after they keep Sharon Moore there? They finally get a big fish in the boat.
Dude can roll. What's he got? 21.5 in the 200, 10.6 in the 100-meter.
95 speed score on our Next Gen now database.
Shout out to our boys at Next Gen. And with that said, let's send it over to Tom Loy.
Tom Loy here with 5-star quarterback, the top-ranked quarterback in attendance, Taven St. Clair, currently committed to Ohio State. Taven, just here at the Elite 11, take me through what you're trying to take away from this event.
Yeah, really just soak in all the information that I can. I think it'll be big for me to take and make this trip just to, kind of get the mental side of the game down. I think that there's great minds in football here, and I really just want to soak it all in. Take in everything I can, learn little hints in there on how to, disguise defenses, how they're going to disguise it against me, and pick them apart and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to this trip.
And like I said, committed to Ohio State, locked in for a long time. Take me back. Why did you initially commit to Ryan Day and want to be a Buckeye?
Yeah, really just the quarterback development was big for me. Over the past 12, 15 years, they've had some of the best quarterbacks in the country, and it's also close to home, so I feel like that was just big for me. I've grown up a fan, since I was born, and like I said, they had so much success, and they compete for championships year in and year out, and I think that was just big to be on the big stage and really see where I can take my talents.
There's been some staff changes in Columbus. Chip Kelly's there now as the offensive coordinator. How have things been going with him?
It's been great. Me and Coach Kelly's relationship is very strong. Assistant quarterback Coach Larkin, we talk every day. So, I really haven't lost any connections at all. Strengthened my relationships because I'm there all the time, 50 minutes down the road. So I try and get over there as much as I can, and just really learn as much and learn the lingo and terminology they use as much as I can.
Might have some recruits, receiver especially, watching at home. Make your pitch, man. Who are some guys that you're trying to target to bring to Columbus with you?
Yeah, really, I've been heavy on the receiver group. So DeCorian Moore, Vernell Brown, Jamie French, Phillip Bell. we need you in Columbus. So make the choice over here, and we'll be great together. So.
Taven St. Clair, appreciate your time. Ohio State commit, Ivins Cooper, back to you.
Drew, you wanted to know who the dude is in this event. Part of being the dude is sometimes you got to look in the camera. You got to tell the players that you want to play with, hey, you need to come play with me. And we just saw the recruiting pitch from Taven St. Clair to some of the best receivers in the country. This is a guy that you have been behind from start to finish. Tell me why you think he can be the guy here this week in L.A., but beyond that as well, and somebody that we see that has top 5 pick potential in the NFL draft.
Well, you saw him towering over Tom Loy right there. I mean, he had the prototypical size, and you see him, he kind of resembles that of Justin Fields. I think he could be a better passer than Justin Fields, which is saying a lot given where Justin Fields went, and you think about his college career. Smooth stroke. I loved him at that Elite 11 regional up in Columbus, where he's going to play his football. I love how he's wired, Cooper. I've heard from a staffer there at Ohio State, Taven St. Clair spent his entire spring break, right? So when he was off from school, going to spring practices, sitting in the meeting rooms with all that talent in the Ohio State quarterback room, he's trying to learn. Fast forward to this summer, he's worked out for the Buckeyes like 5 or 6 times. That's just unheard of for a quarterback. So I like how he's wired. I want to ask you, what are your expectations? You've only seen him on tape. You saw him standing over there. What do you think of him as the prospect? Do you think we're far off from number 2? I would hope not.
No, I don't think so. To me, what I want to see this week is a marriage between the idea and the player come to fruition. What I mean by that is he's easy to fall in love with on paper. He's 6'4", he's 225 pounds. You see him in person, looks like Zeus, right? Tom got to see him in Las Vegas over the offseason. You get to see him in that event compared to guys like Bryce Underwood. Physically, he's the best-looking guy there. Then you see the smooth, athletic stroke, everything that he does, the way he navigates the pocket. So I like it. I like it all. And he's put it on tape. The biggest thing for me, the live exposure, getting to see this guy in person, kind of see what he's like, even little stuff like that, seeing what he's like in the interview, how he's talking to the guys that he might be thrown to someday, all that kind of tells you something. So I'm excited to kind of see him in person, see what that live evaluation is going to be like. And Taven St. Clair, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Tom Loy standing by with another one.
Tom Loy here with Tramel Jones, top 247, 3-star quarterback, committed to Florida State, maybe top 247. We'll see how it goes this week. But take me back to your commitment. Obviously, you've been locked in with the Seminoles for a very long time. Why did you pick Florida State a while back?
Just the relationships I had with Coach Torcars, Coach Norvell, their ability to develop quarterbacks. You see they got DJ this year. You see they had 3 different styles of quarterbacks. You see how Coach Norvell is a versatile play caller. Then the relationship we built, it's unbreakable, and I love those coaches.
If you were making a pitch to all the receiver recruits and recruits watching at home, why Florida State? And also, who are you targeting?
We get the ball to playmakers in space. We let you guys work. I'm just a distributor. I'm the point guard on the field. We love Ramel Brown. We love Byron Lewis. We got some old linemen, Josh Petty. Those are just a few names to get after, but those are the guys we're going after right now.
We spoke quickly off camera, but take me through the mind when you're on the field. Do you get any nerves? You being out here with all these the best of the best across the country. Any nerves?
No nerves. Just go out there and be me, play my game, and then everything will settle for itself.
Tramel Jones, 3-star quarterback. I appreciate your time. Cooper, Ivins, back to you.
Yeah, Tom mentioned, talking to Tramel mentioned, he said, point guard, distributor. I'll be whatever you need me to be. Point guard kind of seems accurate. I love watching Tramel Jones, total gamer, the way that he kind of commands the position. The tape is one thing. Then you see him in person. There's a lot more to him physically than I think we expected, seeing him live throughout the offseason circuit. Drew, your expectations of the Florida State commit this week?
Coop, I think we both kind of signaled him as a dark horse for this event, and that's because I think he is built for this setting, right? Routes on air, him having all that background playing 7-on-7. This is a guy that can hit his marks when he can stay on schedule, right? The pocket is clean. He's got clean footwork. When there's bullets are flying, I think that's where the biggest question mark comes with Tramel Jones, and that's having seen him play multiple times in person, in pads. Can he get away from the sacks? Can he keep plays alive? I think that is the biggest question mark with Tramel Jones, but from a passer standpoint, his ability to get the football, right, to the first level, the second level, the third level, he can do it, and he has done it at Jacksonville Mandarin High School, which produced Carson Beck. He gets the football to Jamie French. So I think he's a sneaky pick to have a really good week here in L.A.
Florida State likes what they have in Tramel Jones, and we've got a lot of buzz. We're doing our homework on him as well. Big week for Tramel Jones. Let's send it back to Tom Loy.
Tom Loy here with 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis, longtime USC commit. Before we dive into the recruitment, let's just look here. You're at the Elite 11. What are you trying to take away from this week? What are you trying to learn?
Shoot, I mean, of course, there's a lot of great coaches out here, and the big thing for me this weekend is building relationships with all these guys. Like, this is a big part of history as a quarterback. Like, it's a big thing that we'll get to hold on to for the rest of our football careers and stuff. So just getting to build a relationship with the guys out here.
Like I said, longtime USC commit, locked in with the Trojans. Tell me, why did you initially pick USC way back when?
I mean, I chose USC for Coach Riley. You know, Coach Riley's had a long run with quarterbacks, and he's had a good thing with all the Heisman trophies and stuff like that, and that's kind of hard to want to skip over as a quarterback. So, I mean, that's what got me.
Still considering a couple other schools, taking your visits, fresh off an Auburn official visit. How did it go on the plains?
No, it went well. I mean, Auburn's a great city. I mean, it's a nice area, good team. You know, SEC is a lot bigger than other places, but yeah, no, it's a lot closer to home too. But I mean, you know, I'm still locked in with SC.
And then what's your plan? Obviously, your visits, I know initially you were thinking shut it down before the start of your senior season. Is that still in play? Do you plan on taking any trips in the fall? Where's your head at with the whole process?
Yeah, no, that's still my plan, is trying to just get it over with now so I can focus on my last year.
And with the schools that are in place, anybody else try to come out of the blue and hit you up, say, hey, would you want to take a visit? Anybody else shooting their shot?
No, not for real. I mean, I've been committed for a while, so teams kind of already understand.
Awesome. 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis, still locked in with USC, but there's some other suitors still in play. Cooper Ivins, back to you.
Youngest player in the field, a guy that's been a stud for a long time, Carrollton High School. You talk about a guy that plays a lot older than his age. That would be Julian Lewis. Drew, we've talked a lot about some of the guys that have caught our eyes, just even walking by here and checking. Camario Taylor, Malik Washington, you can go down the list. Julian Lewis, for as highly touted as he is, sometimes has the feel of a guy that's a little bit of a forgotten man. What do you expect, and what do you want to see from one of the top signal callers in the country?
I think he's been training for this event since he was 8 years old. I think he is going to have a very, very good week, and I think it's going to start tonight during those opening workouts, and I think it's going to continue through the pro day, right? This is a guy that is at Cartersville, or he's at Carrollton High School because the head coach there, Coach Trevor Lawrence at Cartersville, right? His head coach there. He is ready for this. And Coop, going back through all the Elite 11 regional workouts, right? My just perspective watching them through the Elite 11 footage, I thought he showed maybe one of the most talented arms. And I call him a pure distributor of the football. I think he's a point guard back there. I think that term fits for him. And the best part about his game is just that those instincts, the eyes, his ability to break down defenses and manipulate them. He's really good at throwing his receivers open. And I think we are going to see a good few days from him.
I think if you're a USC fan, you're listening to that interview with Tom Loy, you get the sense, I don't want to say comfort, but I think USC's in a good spot. I think Julian Lewis wants to be done with this recruitment sooner rather than later, coming off a visit to Auburn as well. What would it mean for Lincoln Riley to be able to keep Julian Lewis in the boat, go to the South in Georgia, pull out a guy like that? Obviously just had Caleb Williams, but that quarterback room, you and I talk about it a lot. It's not the one that we've been accustomed to, and that's no shot at Miller Moss or Jaden Maeva. But Julian Lewis would kind of be, I would say, a little bit more similar to what we're used to seeing from Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley's got a really good track record when it comes to developing quarterbacks, Heisman Trophy winners, first-round picks. But they didn't take an arm in 2025. That just didn't come to fruition. 2024. And then in the 2025 cycle, what's their answer? They're going to bring Julian Lewis from the class of 2026. They're looking good for Ryder Lions when it comes, we're talking about the younger quarterbacks out there. Greg Briggins brought that up. So I think it's starting to look long-term outlook's looking better. But they got to find an answer. And what's unique about USC, and we know they can go in the transfer portal. We know they can go get any guy they want out there, right? If there's a big name this year, they can certainly make a run for him. But I think Julian Lewis is important to that program because he fits Lincoln Riley, that system, up-tempo, built for it.
big week for Juju, one of those guys. It's kind of like pressurized situation. How are you going to react, right? And you see all these other guys. We keep talking about it. Big physical athletic frames, and then there's Julian Lewis, a little bit more of the Bryce Young mold, 6'5", 185 pounds. That's kind of who he is. He plays the game through the years, right? It's kind of like more of that command of the position. His margin of error is a lot slimmer, so he's got to be that much better in every other area.
And I go back to a scouting call we had recently, right? We were trying to find the player comp for Julian Lewis, and Greg Biggins brought it up. And the more I've marinated on this, the more I kind of like it. Spencer Rattler. I think there's some Spencer Rattler in Julian Lewis in terms of what they're able to do, the builds and everything like that. Spencer Rattler at the Elite 11 finals, he was a cocky individual. You could just see it from the stands, right, in terms of how he handled himself in between drills, always trying to be first in line. There was 7-on-7 play. That's back when it was molded with the opening finals. I want to see if we see, that same type of mindset, attitude from Julian Lewis, or is he going to be the quiet guy? Silent assassin. Which path does he choose here in LA?
All right, let's go a little up-tempo. We'll get back to the transaction wire, and let's talk a little bit about Penn State. You were talking about Penn State, I don't want to say on the negative side, but we talked about some what-if scenarios. Well, they got one of those guys, especially from in-state, one of the top corners in the country, in Jameer Joseph, top 247 corner, number 23 in the country. Drew, I was going back, looking at your scouting report. You like this guy a little bit higher than the consensus, I would say, the 24 scouting community, but a lot to like here with this Penn State corner.
Yeah, not a ton of verified information on Jameer Joseph, but you put on the tape, he's got the length and size to match and press. Remember, Manny Diaz is no longer the defensive coordinator there in Happy Valley. It is now Tom Allen, who comes over from Indiana. He's also had some stingy defenses, likes to get his corners in one-on-one situations on the perimeter. Jameer Joseph, 23 pass breakups, 6 INTs the past 2 seasons. One of the better ones when it comes to ball production. He can also punch it on the hardwood in the open floor. So I've long been a fan behind the scenes. I want my perimeter corners to be big, long, and physical and can get after that football. Jameer Joseph can do just that.
Yeah, you got a certain style of what you're looking there for the corner position. So Penn State getting hot on the recruiting trail. They're up to number 11 per 24/7 Sports. Guys, just a reminder, you are locked in to the 24/7 Sports Football Recruiting Podcast. You can find the Oyster Boys, me and Andrew Ivins, every Tuesday and Wednesday at noon Eastern Time on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel in X. Make sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys watching, and we love doing stuff like this live at the Elite 11 Finals. And Drew, got some quick hitters, some other names that came off the board over the weekend, and some guys you can't just gloss over. But how about Oklahoma? They go out to Mater Dei right here in Southern California. They get one of the best receivers in the country in Marcus Harris. Your thoughts on Brent Venable's most recent pickup?
Short area quickness, one of the best in the class. 4.19 in the short shuttle, I believe, for Marcus Harris on the lasers. Not a better time out there when it comes to the blue chip receivers. I think he's a slot inside guy all the way, can make contested catches. I think he fits that offense, what they want to do.
All right, how about Ole Miss? Andrew Maddox, 4-star defensive lineman out of the state of Mississippi. We saw the shark emoji yesterday from defense coordinator Pete Golding, Lane Kiffin. It seems to me Ole Miss a lot more outfitted to recruit defensively than they have in, I don't know, the last decade. We haven't really seen that out of them. What do you think just about Ole Miss as a whole and the emphasis that they're putting on that side of the football?
Well, they're still kings of the transfer portal, or I should say they're active in the transfer portal. But we keep bringing it up. We like what they're doing on the high school side, right? They'll get the big free agents, but they seem to be investing a little bit in, the NFL draft, the high school side of things, and developing that talent in home. What I like about Ole Miss's strategy, and this is your territory, it seems like they have made it a priority to get the in-state guys. The ones they want, they get them committed. They're taking advantage of where Mississippi State is as they transition to a new staff. So I've been impressed. And Maddox, younger brother, signed with them as a quarterback last year. Kind of a layup, but you still got to get it. You still got to score.
Camarion Franklin, Will Eccles, Cameron Beavers, all three of those guys signed with Ole Miss last year, all three from the Magnolia State. All right, Drew, a salty one here. That's what I'll call it. Andrew Purcell, listed as an athlete, more of a corner, got the track and field background. We don't have any verified height. We don't have any of that stuff. But you turn on the tape, there's a lot to like. Kentucky. This is kind of what they do. They make a living off of these type of guys. I love the fit. And when this kind of came across the timeline this morning on the 24/7 Sports Commit Wire, I loved it. I loved it, and I couldn't wait to kind of talk about it on this show today.
Yeah, they also added Jacaden Ferguson, who we just moved up in the rankings, two-way player with some NFL ties that they're going to try at cornerback. This is the bread and butter for Mark Stoops, right? You turn on the TV Saturday in October, and you're like, whoa, Kentucky just took someone down, and the defense is kind of what made it happen. It's because they get these guys with developmental upside that they can stash on the roster for 2 to 3 years, and then it just works out, right? They just make plays. And I think Purcell, as an inside guy, is exactly what you're looking for. And Jacaden Ferguson, who also committed recently, 6'1", you can play him on the outside. So they continue to do it on defense.
I just realized that all three of those schools that we talked about, all in the SEC, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Kentucky, still got to get used to that. All right, Drew, we talked a little bit about it earlier in the show, the 2026 quarterback dominoes. We're hearing some stuff last night. We're here with Tom Lloyd. We're very lucky and fortunate that we are kind of on the front end of all this news as it's coming in. Brady Hart goes to Michigan. Dia Bell yesterday when we're at the airport commits to Texas, one of the top quarterbacks in the country from American heritage. And then outside of that, Jaden O'Neal trending to Oklahoma right now, another top 100 prospect and the number 6 quarterback in the country. Things are getting accelerated rather quickly, but it also seems like the dust is starting to settle as well as the musical chairs and the music comes to a stop. Just your thoughts on what's transpired over the last 48 hours?
Well, we are at the Elite 11 finals where it's 20 of the top quarterbacks in the class of 2025, and all the news is about the soon-to-be juniors. That is how accelerated this recruiting process has come when it comes to the quarterbacks. Like, these guys have only played, most of them are 1-2 year starters, and schools are making decisions, and all the dominoes have pretty much fallen. I mean, facing Brandon, our number 1 player, number 1 ranked player, it seems like Tennessee, maybe LSU in there for him. But after that, I mean, everyone has already kind of found their home. And then if you're a school that doesn't have one of these top guys committed, you better be ready to pounce on the first guy that has that mid-season tape that you like when we're talking 2026 quarterbacks. I don't know who that guy's going to be. Someone's certainly going to emerge, not just one. It might be 2 or 3 individuals, but I think by the end of the summer, you look at all the quarterbacks in the top 247 for the class of 2026, I would guess over 75% are committed. All the ones in Florida are Will Griffin, Noah Grubbs, Brady Hart, you just mentioned, Jaden O'Neal, likely going to go to Oklahoma. We talked about Walker Lyons to USC. I mean, man, if you're one of these schools, you're going to have to be ready to work.
Real quick, your thoughts. Dia Bell, son of Raja Bell, played in the NBA.
This is your guy.
This is my guy. I like him a lot, but, we got a camera right here, and I want to get your reaction. I'll hold you to the fire a little bit. Your thoughts on Dia Bell to Texas?
I think he's still maturing and figuring out his body, right? You get around him, not like the most physically developed individual yet, which I think is a good thing. He looks young in the face. I think he's going to add some really good weight in the coming years. What stands out to me about Dia Bell, he's at American Heritage. I was at, I think, his second career start. I thought for it being, start number 2, the guy's got some moxie for the position. He's a natural back there, can escape pressure, make some throws on the run, make some throws on the move. Turns it over at times. He can have some throws, and you've seen this in the 7-on-7 setting. You're like, oh, I don't know about that one. But, he puts his players in position to make plays. And, one we're going to have our close eye on. And talk about that quarterback room for Texas, man. I mean, we even brought up KJ Lacey, who's out here at the Elite 11 finals. Arch Manning's there, Quinn Ewers. Steve Sarkisian does an excellent job of getting all the top underclassmen quarterbacks to camp for him. Dia Bell seems to be the belle of the ball for them.
Yeah, a little bit of everything in that room, too, when you think about it. Yeah, you got Quinn Ewers, you got Arch Manning, you got Trey Owens after that, a guy that certainly kind of made some noise late in the evaluation cycle. KJ Lacey, a little bit on the smaller side, kind of, I don't want to get too loose with the Bryce Young comparison, but obviously a guy under 6 feet, you kind of see why Steve Sarkisian likes him. Then you got Dia Bell, and I think you said it. babyface assassin. I mean, if there's a babyface, it would be Diabell, but I like so much of what Diabell brings to the table. I think that development is so much further ahead of him. He's got a long way to go, and I like that. So a lot of appeal with Diabell. Guys, I mentioned Tuesday and Wednesday, you can find the Oyster Boys, but also on Wednesday afternoon, you can find Carl Reed and Smoke Dixon on Unfiltered at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, and they'll have a special guest tomorrow, Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire. Don't want to miss it. Unfiltered right here on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. All right, Drew, we teased it earlier in the show. We got about 10 minutes left, so we got to be up-tempo here, but we got the Oyster Boys snake draft. So what that means is each of us is going to pick a player, 5 players each, where we basically are going to choose our team for who's most likely to win the Elite 11 MVP, and that's it. That's the genesis of that.
We're going with our alpha dog for the Elite 11 finals. We're going with the Elite 11 MVP. Usually it's the same, but there's been some years where it's different.
Let's go Elite 11 MVP.
Okay.
It's a little bit more testy, harder for us to predict. You know, that's the whole point of the game, so let's do that. All right, last night we flipped a coin. I got first pick. My first pick, Taven St. Clair. We talked about him earlier in the show. Looking back the last 2 years, you look at the last 2 winners. Julian St, right, came out in this event, kind of lit the world on fire. The year before that, it was Jackson Arnold. You're looking for the combination of highest ceiling and highest floor, and what I mean by that is I think Taven St. Clair is a pretty polished passer, and he's got all the physical tools to go with it as well. So, Drew, we've talked about Taven St. Clair ad nauseum. I think he's in perfect position to win it all.
You stole my pick.
All right, number 2, who you got?
I'm going to go with my other guy in this class, Keelan Russell. Alabama commit, flipped from SMU. Dug into the stats on the flight out here. You know, highest completion percentage of all these quarterbacks, 72.1%. I always go back to that evaluation I got of him at the Battle Miami event. The football did not touch the ground. 21-9 as a starter at Duncanville High School. I've said it in the past. He's got some Lamar Jackson to his game in terms of how he moves. Loose athlete, yet explosive in the pocket. To me, he's one where I can't wait to see tonight. Like, what does it look, you know, where does he stack up? Because I thought he was excellent at that Elite 11 regional in Texas. I think it's going to be a chance he earns a 5th star out here in Texas.
I want to correct you because I'm your friend. 29-1, right? Not 21-9.
29-1.
And I'm not even saying that because I'm making the point is he's playing some of the best competition in the country there in Duncanville, in Texas. Keelan Russell.
And the other thing, second youngest quarterback here.
I didn't know that.
Didn't realize that behind Julian Lewis.
All right, you got pick number 3. We just talked about it. That is Sir Julian Lewis for you as well.
Yeah, and maybe he should have been number 2. Last night you and Tom Loy were making me, slot these guys. I'm like, why does it matter? And Tom's talking about signing bonus and all this stuff. Look, I said it. I think Julian has been training for this since he was, his entire life. I really, really liked that workout he put on tape. Love the tape from his, now freshman season and the sophomore season. This is a guy that set records and has lit up scoreboards in Georgia's highest classification. The moment has never been too big for him so far. And to me, I think he's someone that is going to have a chance to block out the noise. I think him throwing on air, I think him in the pro day type of setting, this is what he's made for.
All right, pick number 4. A guy we haven't talked about, Matt Zollers, and kind of a fan favorite of ours. Georgia, Missouri, Penn State was involved, ends up going with Drink there in Mizzou. And, Drew, I like this kid. And I think a lot of the potential has not materialized yet coming out of PA, but this guy, athletic profile, just saw him walking by in the hall. That's the first time I've gotten eyes on him. He's a little bit bigger than what I would have thought. We also like him because he's a golf guy as well. Big multi-sport athlete, 7 handicap. So shout out to Matt Zollers on that. But, Drew, I like this kid. It's not so much about him winning the MVP, but I do think this is a kid kind of similar to Luke Kromenhawk. I'm excited to see all the goods. I think he's got it all, and he's one of those guys. He might not be there yet. 2 to 3 years from now, this might be the guy everybody's talking about.
Yeah, wiry build. I was at his Elite 11 regional up in State College. I thought it was a bit up and down. Brian Montgomery, who we'll get to later, the Georgia commit, he was my alpha dog. Both of them punched tickets. I think when Zollers is on, he's on, right? It's just a matter of consistency with him, and I think you're going to like what you see out here. It's a great pick, Cooper. Gritty individual. I also learned he's at Springford High School. Springford has never had an FBS signee going to be the first guy out of that school. So Matt is certainly ready to go.
All right, pick number 5. We have somehow gone like 55 minutes into the show. We haven't even talked about this guy yet. Deuce Knight committed to Notre Dame, and been a lot of buzz about what's going on with his recruitment. I'm sure Tom Loy will check in there. But, Drew, there you see it, 6'4.5", 206 pounds, got the 40-plus inch vert, can do a little bit of everything. Brother played at Indiana, was a legitimate player. Tell me a little bit about the background in track and field as well.
His real name's Justin Knight. We didn't know that until
I like
yesterday.
Deuce better.
Yeah, we're going to go with Deuce. Back-to-back state champ in the long jump, also won a gold medal in the high jump. This is the most explosive individual here. His 97 explosion score on Next Gen is the best I've ever seen for a quarterback. 42.3-inch vertical jump when he was at the Elite 11. Highest spark rating of the bunch at 121. He can go, 4.5 in the short 40-yard dash. This is what you're looking for, Cooper. Really big month for him so far. We loved him at the OT7 finals. I thought that was the most consistent 3-day stretch he's had. I think this is an excellent pick for you. One I was hoping to get. Lefty southpaw. But wait until you see that 2-ball, right? The outbreaker rolling to his left. I want to know if Deuce Knight can work to his right. Because his 7-on-7 offense, what he does at George County there in Tennessee, it's a lot to the left, and for good reason. Can they move him right? Because Brian's stuffing those guys out there, they're going to move him to his right.
Yeah, I think you said it, Drew. Wild card pick, but a guy that I think at maybe a couple months ago you would say, I don't know if this guy can win this event. Now you're kind of, from what we've seen over the last couple months, you're feeling good about Deuce Knight. It's a big week for him, not so much winning the event. You just want to see the consistency. The word you used with Deuce Knight was flashes. Those flashes have become so much more consistent lately. I think that's the thing that has Notre Dame fans, Mike Denbrock, Marcus Freeman, so excited. All right, Drew, 5 minutes left. You got picks 6 and 7. One more point on Deuce Knight because I know you want to get it in.
Remember DJ Lagway last year at the Elite 11 finals? I went back and looked. He finished as our number 9 quarterback in the Elite 11 rankings coming out of the week. Ended up as a 5-star, number 3 player in the class, number 1 quarterback. It was up and down for DJ Lagway, but there was, what you said, flashes. I just want to see some flashes from Deuce Knight.
Big week for Deuce Knight. We'll see what happens with him. All right, accelerator on, pick 6 and 7. You got Hussein Longstreet, committed to Texas A&M, and then at 7, you got the UGA commit, Ryan Montgomery.
Oh, Hussein Longstreet, another guy we have not talked about. He's got maybe the strongest arm here. I mean, the ball jumps out of his hands. To steal a term from Bud Elliott of the Cover 3 podcast, he's like an RPM god. Like the ball just flies. Up and down, I think, for him this offseason. We've seen him play some 7-on-7. We saw him at the Elite 11 Regional. Greg Biggins was there. Would probably tell you wasn't the best of performances for him, but I'm buying that arm. Ryan Montgomery, he's kind of my dark horse in this whole thing. 3-year starter. He's broken some records set by Ben Roethlisberger up there in Ohio. This is a kid that we didn't even know if we were going to get at the Elite 11 finals. Was dealing with turf toe, I think a grade 2 turf toe injury. Gutted it out for the Elite 11 performance, and like I said, I thought as the workout progressed, he got better with each and every throw. Another full field reader, right? I think behind the scenes, X and O's, they put him on the whiteboard. That's where Ryan Montgomery's going to shine.
Savvy pick at number 7. I like that value there. All right, I got picks 8 and 9. I got Tramel Jones. We talked about him. Drew, I just like the way that he kind of commands the game. The other portion of this, the 7-on-7, right? So if you're being strategic, Tramel Jones is kind of your guy. I think he's super polished as well. So I'm excited about Tramel Jones. I like that pick. Good value there. And then at number 9, a little bit of a surprise for the boys last night. How about KJ Lacey? We haven't talked about him. I mean, you want to talk about a guy's complete gamer and everything that he does. Super athletic, super nimble, very comfortable operating off platform, outside of the pocket as well. Accurate kid, sure, short in stature, but he plays big. I like KJ Lacey. I'm excited to see him as well. I think he's going to come in this event with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder.
He's a kid always with a smile on his face. All right, my final pick. I know we're under the gun here. Number 10, right? I had a full field, and I want to change it based on seeing some of these bodies in the lobby, like Bryce Baker over there signing the helmet. I'm going with Camario Taylor, and I think it's a long shot, but give me the lottery ticket, man. Give me the odds. That's what I'm all about, right? You know, the big future with him. I think, you know, if he can piece it together, right? and just find ways to slow things down and make it easy, then there's a chance he can finish, I think in the top half of these quarterbacks. And the frame, the measurables really jump out. Watch him in the state title game. I think that this clip right here is from it. He's not afraid to throw it over the middle. He can dial it up, put it in some tight coverage windows. So he's number 10 for me, but I went back and forth all over the board. I think you can make a case for all of these guys.
All right, so there you have it, our top 10. Nice little fun exercise, and I want to get you out on this question, but we were talking about it last night. Is there one player in your eyes with a just legitimate performance over all 3 days that you walk away from this event and you say, all right, what player has the most to gain here, in my own opinion? Like, I want to see this, and maybe he checks that box, and you say, all right, I kind of got to recalibrate on this guy a little bit.
Deuce Knight. Can you build off those 3 consistent days, right? Because there has been some times we've seen him on the camp circuit, and it's like, I don't know if he's an Elite 11 finalist. I don't know if he's going to have a chance to be number 1. And now we're sitting here, and you picked him, number 6 in this exercise? So Deuce Knight for me. And, we can't see the comments. I'm sure some people are like, oh, well, Deuce Knight this, Deuce Knight that. Deuce Knight also has a ton of red numbers compared to the rest of these quarterbacks. Yes, he's an athletic freak. You dig into the completion percentage, the yards per attempt, those are some of the lowest ones here out of everyone at the event, if you want to talk about the stats. So it's been up and down on the field as well. But I think Deuce Knight for me. What about you? Anyone?
I would echo that. One guy that we have not talked about that I think you and I are really excited to see, how about Akili Smith Jr.? Big, long, 6'4", 225 pounds. Like, he's got some tools. You talk about it all the time. Just knowing his background, his dad, a former number 1 pick in the NFL draft, he's not as developed as you think he would be. But, Drew, there are times we've seen him throw where you like what you see. Now, he's not going to be one of these guys who's going to be day one ready when he walks on campus in Eugene. But 2 to 3 years from now, sitting with Will Stein, Dan Lanning, you kind of like the idea of what this guy can be. So I'm excited to kind of see how he matches up with some of these other guys here.
One more. Luke Nickel, Miami commit. We have not mentioned him either. He's on the younger side. Dug into him. Got to see his, I think, first or second game of his junior season. His team came down to South Florida. Wasn't the most encouraging live evaluation. What does he do? He rebounds, wins a state title in Georgia's highest classification. I think he's someone that is kind of flying a little bit under the radar coming into the event. And go back to the Elite 11 finals last year. Like, Daniel Kalin's a guy that didn't know much about. We really liked Ethan Grunkmeyer. He kind of popped night 1. Ended up, I think, finished ranked number 6 for us. So Luke Nickel's another one that I think we need to bring up.
Drew, enjoyed it, brother. We got a big week ahead right here at 24/7 Sports and all the Elite 11 coverage you can possibly imagine right here on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. CBS HQ will be helping out as well. For our Director of Scouting, Andrew Ivins, National Recruiting Analyst Tom Loy, I'm Cooper Petagna. Keep it locked to 247sports.com.